Hello, my name is Zach Factora, and this is my introductory PowerPoint that I made. So yeah, there's just a couple pictures of me on there. A couple of good ones, a couple of funny ones. Just keeping it chill. So who am I? So I'm a marketing major with a minor in nutrition. I'm originally from North Canton, Ohio. Yeah, from a town called North Canton. I chose my major and minor because I want to work within the health marketing field, specifically for nutritional products. There's actually a really good company down here in Columbus called Abbott Laboratories, and they work with a lot of different products like Fairlife and Pedialyte, all that good stuff. So a fun fact about me is that I've actually been hit by a car twice. One time unwillingly, and then another time of my own accord. And just to keep it short, I'm not going to go into it, but that's a fun fact about me. My favorite way to spend my weekend is, a mixture of relaxing, reading, binging shows, and doing random side activities with my friends. It's always a good time when it's like 10:30, you're getting ready for bed, and then your friend texts you. They're like, "Dude, you're not gonna believe what just happened," and then you go on a whole escapade for the next 5 or so hours. So those are always my favorite things. In terms of, what's piqued my interest recently, I'd have to say that, the new Superman movie. I'm a big movie guy, so it's finally good to see like a really good, well-made, like big superhero film. It's kind of a joke now that, Marvel isn't doing very well, and neither was DC, a couple years ago. But, now it seems like things are getting back on track, and, there's a lot of good stuff happening. So I'm really glad about that. So, going back to where I'm from, so like I said, I'm from a small town, North Canton, which is about 2 hours from here. Nothing interesting ever happens there, which is, why I, want to get out of here as soon as I can. But I will say though that the hidden gems in the town are, the people I met in high school, which are totally worth it. I have a couple of their pictures up here. And actually, at the top of the screen, you're gonna see two pictures that look exactly the same. So that's my town, but the other one is actually a desert, so you can't really tell the difference. Sorry, that's just a joke I threw in there. But yeah, those are my friends at the bottom. It's my buddy Bruno in the corner. I think my face is covering the rest of them. And then that's my other friend Dylan. Oh, I skipped it. All right, whatever. Anyway, so which factors influence my food choices? So big one is my culture. So I'm half Filipino, and a lot of dishes include a lot of rice, marinated meat, dishes like adobo, caldereta, and pancit. Wow, they're my favorite. Unfortunately, they're very high in salt. So I was talking with my Lola the other day. I was talking about her with all the recipes and stuff like that. The whole, Filipino cultures, they didn't have a lot to work with. So they would take what they had, which was, a lot of pork. It was like something that was in a lot of supply. And they would just marinate it with the little things that they had. So like garlic, onions, a lot of soy sauce, and that's a staple for a lot of these dishes. It's just kind of substituting meats when they have it and when they don't have it. And it turned out to be really good. It's my comfort food. It's so simple and yet it's the most delicious thing I've ever had. So yeah, that's the culture side of it. My family, so I come from a very big family. I am one of 7 kids. Sorry, I have to count every single time. That's how you know it's a crazy, crazy place. So yeah, I have to count every time. So there's 7 of us. I have an older half sister, and then 5 younger brothers, which is very draining, even just thinking about it. And I gotta call them each individually whenever I get the chance, just to make sure that they're okay. But yeah, other than that, so getting back on track. So a lot of the food we made was in bulk. A lot of spaghetti, a lot of Filipino food. Like I said, adobo. It's really simple to make. So soy sauce, garlic. Throw a bunch of meat in there, let it sit for the next few hours, and then everybody's ready to eat. And eventually, everybody's schedule lines up towards the end of the day. What were some other staples? So yeah, I said spaghetti. My mom makes a lot of good spaghetti. She's Italian. She has this recipe that takes 11 hours to make, but it's super simple. Again, garlic, olive oil. There's some wine in there, some white wine. I don't know. I gotta figure out the recipe. But yeah, it's really good stuff. And again, when we don't cook in bulk, we end up, resorting to a lot of fast food, especially recently. It's just a lot of the kids are getting older. I'm in college, my younger brother's in college, the other one's a senior, and then all the little kids are getting into their sporty activities, with baseball, and they're actually at a track meet right now, and they were talking about getting more fast food while I was on the phone with them. So yeah, a lot of fast food. But at the same time, we are a very health conscious family. You know, we try to substitute a lot of recipes that call for red meat. We usually switch it out with like some turkey meat, um, some chicken, all that good stuff. So an example of that, we make fun of my mom a lot. We do like a taco night, but I don't think we've had ground beef within the last 5 years or so. It's always like either turkey or chicken. But you know what? It's always really good. Especially for me, I'm very health conscious. I try and eat lean as I can. Especially now that I'm living on my own, it's a very big part of who I am. So let's go to the next slide. So how does your upbringing influence your food choices? Yeah. So like I said, my family being very health conscious, while at the same time, they resort to a lot of quick meals. So it kind of made me want to be more independent myself. So and I totally get it. It's hard to plan with that many kids. I grew up in the family. I would know how hard it is. But at the same time, it gets to a point where I got to take it upon myself to I can't be relying on my parents for all these different meals. So the past few years, I've really been taking to cooking for myself. I meal prep. I do a lot of chicken, a lot of rice, potatoes. Oh my God, my favorite food of all time. Like, woo, just throw that in the air fryer. Perfect. It's a perfect snack. Low in fat. I also use the spray olive oil that saves a lot of calories. Rather than doing like 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil. It's a good healthy. Sorry, it's a healthy fat, but I do want to try to minimize all that. Especially when the weekend comes around and we're just like, God, we want some pizza. So as long as I can eat lean throughout the week, I always keep my weekends pretty open. So yeah, these past few years I've been a little more independent. Yep. And yeah, again, I will divulge in my mom's pasta recipes or my dad's signature Filipino stuff. But I've really cut down on that. And living on my own, I have a lot of more better self control. So yeah, I do. I will admit I do need to work on my seasoning. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, other than that, I like what I make. Oh, okay. So my favorite recipe is adobo. So I was talking about how it's such a simple recipe, but my aunt recently introduced me to her own recipe. So what she does is that she adds all the usual ingredients, but she'll add in coconut milk, and then she'll use a base of coconut oil rather than olive oil. It's a life changer. Oh my God, it makes it so much more sweeter. It's the perfect balance of saltiness and sweet, and then there's actually a lot more garlic, which is garlic's my favorite. It's my whole God, Lord have mercy. It's so good. But anyway, yeah, so that's it right there. And then I included the recipe there if you guys ever want to do it. I didn't include the instructions. It's pretty self-explanatory, Just kind of throw most of the seasoning in the garlic with the olive oil. Not the olive oil, the coconut oil. Let it cook a little bit. Put the meat in. Let that cook for a little bit. Just kind of put skin side down. Yeah, so another thing. This is really good. Always use chicken with this. I haven't ventured into using other meats, but use chicken thighs with the skin on. It'll render it down and it'll be awesome. It's definitely not the healthiest thing, but it's definitely not the worst thing you could make. So yeah, that's my last slide, and I can't wait to continue with this class and get to know all of you.